Homeschooling was never in my plans. It was pretty much the opposite of what I would have wanted to do with my life. And here I am 11 years later. Today I want to share with you the things that I wish I had known when I started homeschooling. So if I could go back and talk to my new homeschooling mom self, this is what I would tell her to encourage her to keep at it. Before we get started, welcome to my channel. I'm Leigh from Little by Little Homeschool, and I'm so glad that you are here. Right here on this channel, I share encouragement, tips, and tricks behind the scenes, why for our homeschooling, how our homeschooling days actually happen, in hopes that it encourages you in your homeschooling journey. If you are new to homeschooling or thinking about homeschooling, or maybe you've been homeschooling for a few years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, somewhere in between, and you are in need of somebody to help you either get started or to give your homeschool a refresh. Maybe there's some things that you're recognizing that you'd like to change in your homeschool. Check out the link in the description below. I have a coaching program where we get to work one-on-one together, and I'd love to talk with you more about that. Okay, so now today, let's get started on today's video, and if you have not already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Today I want to talk to you about 5 things that I wish I had known when I started homeschooling. I'm gonna be honest with you, when I started homeschooling, I was extremely excited. That excitement started to wane pretty quick when we got into the thick of it, when I recognized all the responsibilities, and I was mom and now teacher as well. But I am so glad, looking back now, 11 years, I've graduated my oldest from homeschool, and I'm so glad that I stuck with it. And today I want to share with you 5 things that I wish I had known, and things that I would go back, if I could go and talk to my new homeschool mom self, these are the things that I would tell her every single year in hopes that it would encourage her and help her to continue pressing on and getting through those tough years, knowing that the fruit of all that time, of all that labor, of all that energy was going to be wonderful. The first thing that I wish I had known when I started homeschooling, now it is one of the reasons why we started homeschooling, so this might kind of sound odd if you saw that video. If you didn't, I'll put that down in the description below about our reasons for why we left the public school. I knew that we would have freedom. I was tired of somebody else telling me when we had to start school at the beginning, which was the first day of school, what was the last day of school, when we could take vacations, what hours we need to be at schooling at, and when my kids were going to be occupied, when I could actually have them home with me, and when they weren't going to be home with me. I thrive on freedom. Just ask my husband. But I did not realize the amount of freedom that I would have. When we first started homeschooling, I started off with recreating school at home because honestly, that was all I knew. That was the model that I knew. That's the way that I thought education only worked that way and only could work that way. There weren't all these resources that all of you moms have right now at your fingertips, which I know can be overwhelming too. If you need some help wading through those, check out that link in the description below so we can talk about that. But anyway, I didn't recognize the amount of freedom and how I could decide and make the rules. And I'm such a big, huge proponent of telling moms who are starting out their homeschooling journey that you have so much freedom. Don't let what is in your mind, don't let the mindset that you have hold you back from a new mindset when it comes to homeschooling. So the first thing I wish that I would have known is the full spectrum of freedom that I could have for our days, for our years, for our weeks, months, everything in between, and for the whole of our homeschooling journey. The second thing I wish I had known as a new homeschool mom is that homeschooling is a lifestyle. Again, like I mentioned in the first one, I felt like school could only look like how I was when I went to public school. And so I recreated that. I didn't fully understand in the beginning how homeschool is an entire lifestyle. I have grown into that. And so I would encourage myself to recognize that much sooner. Now, my family has always, wanted to be tight and wanted to do things together. So I understood that it was a lifestyle difference. My kids weren't being put on the bus at a certain time. They weren't gone. So in that respect, I recognized that it was a lifestyle change and that we were going to live differently, but I didn't embrace that fully, like how different that could be and how awesome that could be. The third thing I wish I had known when we started homeschooling was the amount of family bonding and the bonding my kids would have with homeschooling. This also, this is one of the reasons we wanted to homeschool, but again, I didn't fully understand the depth of that. I didn't know how strong of a family bond we could have. I didn't know my kids could have such a strong bond. They are not being pulled. One isn't going off on the bus at 7 a.m. One isn't going off at 7:30. They're not at 3. At some points in their education, they would have been at 3 different schools, 3 different sets of time schedules. They would have all had different homework and different activities and different groups of friends. they all, as an aside, they have basically the same group of friends that we hang out with that just have kids of all different ages and ranges. So we don't have to be pulled in so many different directions. But just at home, the amount of bonding that my kids have had is absolutely tremendous. My kids have been able to bond. They are there. They get to see each other on the hard days. I just recently looked over, and my 11th grade son looked over at his 8th grade brother who was getting upset about math. Why do kids get upset about math? I don't know why he was getting all teary-eyed about it. And I happened to kind of see him getting teary-eyed, and I looked over at his older brother who was looking over at him concerned, and, you know, reached over and patted him on the shoulder. And it's gonna get me teary-eyed now. It was just so sweet to be able to, again, it is gonna, for my kids to be able to be there for each other in the highs and the lows. They recognize the highs. When they've come home from a first day of work at a job, their siblings are there and they can tell them all about it. We have been there through so many different things. They know each other inside and out and so very well. And I'm just so excited for the bond that they are gonna have through their adult years. And there are times when my kids have had a choice between going and doing something with some friends or something special to be able to watch their sibling do. So an example would be my older son. He had an opportunity as a teenage boy, opportunity to go and do some things with some guy friends, but his sister had her ballet concert. And he said, no, I'm not gonna go hang out with my friends. I'm gonna go to her ballet concert. Those types of things. My kids have been able to recognize the important parts of each other's lives, and they've been able to walk through each other. They have like, they've got a lot of funny stories together, and they just have this bond, and I'm excited to see how that grows in the future. So that's something that I wish I had known. I mean, I knew that we would spend a lot of time together, but I did not know the huge benefit of spending time together. Having that quantity time with the quality time has grown into such a bonding experience for them. The fourth thing that I wish I had known when we started homeschooling was that, I guess I knew this, I kind of recognized it, but I didn't, again, fully understand the depth of it. The huge blessing of homeschooling, and I wish I had known, is that my kids have the opportunity, the ability to just be themselves. There aren't the social pressures. They don't really care about what styles are in. I mean, they know because they have friends that are out and they know what clothing and shoes and things that are in. They don't have the peer pressure of trying to fit in, of being wanting to be part of the cool kids or anything. They don't have anybody making fun of them for doing weird stuff. And maybe this is why people say homeschool kids are weird. Because you know what? They don't fit in a box. They march to the beat of their own drum. They could literally be walking down the street beating a drum, and probably I could see one of my kids doing that. I could probably see almost any homeschooler doing that because they wanted to, and they didn't care what anybody else thought. So that's been something that I didn't quite fully grasp, and I wish I had known to really let my kids just kind of blossom and bloom and be themselves in all their weirdness. Because guess what? I'm weird, you're weird, we all have our weirdness. We're all gonna be weird to somebody. So one of the things that I just didn't quite realize, again, the full depth of, was that by giving my kids an opportunity away, I don't want to say away from society, like I've kind of hold them up in this and we're, you know, they're out and about and things, but they've been able to get that foundation that they really don't care as much what people think. They've been able to grow in their interests and their talents and their abilities and their weirdness, and to be themselves, that they don't have this pressure. They don't have pressure from other adults. They don't have pressure from other children that are either older or younger or whatever age to them. They can just be themselves. The fifth thing that I wish I had known when we started homeschooling, that this one applies to me. I wish I had realized for myself, I'm an introvert. I thrive on time alone. I could spend days alone. And maybe I say that because I don't think I've had days alone. Right now while I'm doing this YouTube video, I have a little bit of time home alone. Maybe my husband's working, but the kids are running in and out, getting stuff. They're out lawn mowing, one's flying a drone. So I've been interrupted many times, so I don't fully get a ton of time alone. So maybe that's why I say I would love a couple days home alone by myself. But something that I wish that I had known was that I would become used to not getting what I wanted, not getting that quiet time alone. I do remember a few years ago when we moved into this house, we hadn't fully renovated all the spaces, and our rooms were just stacked on top of each other. We were all sharing rooms. Our bedroom was a small bedroom, and my husband was working from home, and he's been working from home for like 6 years, but we had moved here, and half of the bedroom was home office. We have an office now, but when we first moved here, I literally had no place to go alone, and it just I remember crying to him, just wanting some time alone, and he would find opportunities then for the kids. So it's just even been in the past couple of years that I have recognized that it is okay for me not to get that alone time, and maybe this comes from the fact that my kids are getting older, and I know that in a few years I will have all the alone time that I want. And so for me, I'm just trying to hold on to any of the time that they are here, even though they keep, I see them at the door running in, they like wave to me, like, yes, okay, I'll pause it, come on in, it's absolutely fine. So I guess I wish I would have known that it is okay for me to let go of the parts of myself that I thought I needed and use other areas to be able to fill up. So if I do get some time alone, if it's an hour, I'm like I just soak it in, and I'm like, okay, this is all you got. You're gonna have to use this for a while. Recognizing, that getting out, running out and doing errands, taking a walk, those types of things fill me up. So what I'm saying is I wish that I had known that it is okay for me to give up those things that I felt like were so important that I needed, and to adjust those and find other ways of being able to fill up my heart, fill up my soul. And it is okay for during this season in life, it's going to be busy and crazy, and it's okay. I hope that has encouraged you in, if you're starting off in your homeschooling journeys. Let's go over just real recap. 5 things I wish I had known when I started homeschooling, and I'm going to use my little cheat sheet here because otherwise I'm going to forget. The first one is freedom. I wish that I had understand the full scope of the freedom that I have in homeschooling, and I encourage you to embrace that full scope much earlier than I did. The second thing is I wish that I had recognized that homeschooling is a complete lifestyle change, and to embrace that fully and just let it go. I've talked about the homeschooling lifestyle in other videos, and I will drop that in the description below. The third thing I wish I had known was the depth of the family bond and the bond my children with each other that homeschooling would give us. It just has enriched our life so much more and has set them up for their future relationships with each other to be so much more solid. The fourth thing is that I wish I had known was letting homeschool kids just be weird. The fact that they're probably weird is because they march to the beat of their own drum. They are themselves. So I wish I had known that it is okay for them to fully embrace who they are and let them grow into their personality, into their gifts, talents, and abilities, and exactly who God is calling them to be without the outside pressure from other adults and other children. And the fifth thing is, I wish I had known that it would be okay for me to let go and to embrace the fact that my days, my life is not going to go how I would want it to be, how I would wish it to be, but that's okay. That this is a season in life, and to give myself space to fill up on my introvertness, on my wanting to spend time home alone or to be alone in other ways, and to adjust. So I hope that has encouraged you. If there are things that you wish you had known when you had started homeschooling, leave that in the comment section below. If you're interested in more information about this and how this could look in your homeschool, go ahead and tap that link so that you and I can get connected with my coaching program. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe, and we will see you next time.